40 years later, people are still talking about your brother and the impact that he made. I mean, that goes to be, that's to be said for all of your brothers. But specifically, what do you think it was about your brother David that made him so special?
Well, Dave was the first of us to, actually I was first, but then I went back to college football and Dave went into wrestling, but Dave was, when you hear people talk about Dave, it's like he was one of the greatest wrestlers that ever lived, and he knew every counter, every reversal, every takedown, every submission hold. He knew everything about the business. There are other guys like Dave, but then he could apply holds with such force. He was really tall, and he could use the leverage and just show off your blood. He could show off he could really hold anybody in any hold. And so he was really good at what he did, but Dave also had a way of understanding the people know when to do what. And you know what I mean, Mark? He was like made for that moment.
There was never a doubt when David Von Erich was in the ring and we were getting ready to start all the way through the match. There was no place else on earth he wanted to be. He loved the business. He loved the limelight. He was super talented. He applied his brain and his body. He had a passion, and had things gone differently, things would have gone differently had David lived.
I believe that with my whole heart. Now, Mark, let me put you on the spot. What would you say it was about this man right here that made him so special with the fans?
Well, that's a good question, but before I answer it, I just got to tell the story, because Kevin's probably too modest to tell you this. But when we were in buildings, Freeman Coliseum in San Antonio, Will Rogers in Fort Worth, Reunion Arena for our big shows, Tarrant County Convention Center, you had a little bit of width to the aisles because the chairs on the floor were folding chairs. But at the Sportatorium, the entire arena was permanent seating, wooden bleachers with concrete ramps down to the ring, and they were tight. And watching Kevin and the Von Erichs come to the top of the ramp where they came into view, there was an old light you'd reach up and swing. Remember swinging that old light on a wire? The girls would grab every part of his body. And they did that with Carrie and Mike and David and Chris and all of them. But Bill Cobble, who was in charge of security and logistics, they would try to wrap around the boys to fight their way down. But the excitement that we got to experience watching that was a once-in-a-lifetime experience that captured the magic of that era. And now back to your question, each of those Von Erich boys had their own distinctive qualities, but Kevin had a high-flying, that's what I used to call him, bouncing, acrobatic enthusiasm. He would come into the ring early on in his white boots and later barefooted, but he was filled with energy and ready to go, and the intro better not be too long. Ring the bell, Kevin was ready to rock.
Hey, Mark, now, did you have any of the girls pulling at your clothes when you would go to the ring?
No, I was the skinny wimp they all thought was, well, I won't say the word.
Well, let me pose a question like this. What do you think it was that made World Class so special? What made it different from every other territory out there?
Simple, the TV announcers.
I wish Bill Mercer was here, man.
I had the chance, thanks to Zach Schaefer, to go to McKinney earlier this year and do an interview with Bill Mercer. He's 98 years old, but his voice and his long-term memory are just as sharp as ever. We had a great time. Go on Territory Marks and look at that. But back to your serious question, it was not just one thing. It was a chemistry. Of course, you had the Von Erich family. What a story. Dad, the boys, their good looks, their charisma, their talent, their innovative ability to adjust to the different styles of their opponents. But World Class had great heels too. I mean, think of the Fabulous Freebirds. Think of your gorgeous Jimmy Garvin.
Kabuki.
Think of Gino Hernandez, the handsome half-breed. Gentleman Chris Adams, the great Kabuki, the Gary Hart stable. I mean, it was great talent. But then you had great television. Because when Bill Mercer came back from Chicago in the late 70s, after finishing a run as the broadcaster for the Chicago White Sox, he connected with the University of North Texas, with Fritz, and also with KVIL FM radio, where Ron Chapman was the longtime lead DJ, and that's where he connected with Mickey Grant, and they envisioned this dream of a television production that would run like the NFL. Not what we were doing on Channel 11 with just two cameras, close up, wide shot, close up, wide shot, but literal microphones on the cameras, cameras on the apron of the ring, instant replay, slow motion, and that upped the production so fantastic that when that collided with the remarkable talent and the innovations of the great bookers, it just went to the moon.
What about you, Kevin? What do you think it was about World Class that set it apart from the Vince McMahons and the Crockett's?
I can tell you for sure it was we just got out there and we did our best. We just did our best. We knew that we grew up in the wrestling. And we'd seen so many wrestling matches by the time we were 10, 12 years old, me, David, and we'd seen so much, and we thought we could improve it. We really did. We thought with a faster pace, matches that didn't go an hour long, but maybe 20 minutes and 15 minutes. And it was like night and day. I think maybe because we had a younger audience too. We had a lot of young girls and kids watching, and it just made for a crossover audience that was huge crowd. Even to this day, we in New York we had a higher rating than WWE right in their heyday. It was just that way. Just a bunch of kids liked what we were doing, and we're trying to see if we could make it better, and we did.
And the youth that the Von Erichs and a lot of our other talent brought made for a faster pace in the ring. And I saw that evolve from my first year. We had some great big names, Killer Tim Brooks, The Spoiler. They were all great, but their pace was so much slower. When these guys got there, it happened. And that energy just brought so much to our production.
Well, that's one of the things I think that was so important is, yeah, all of that was great, but one of the biggest ingredients was what we see standing out here, these fans. This is some of the most dedicated fans I've ever seen. Beautiful, you know, I just started doing this earlier this year. I had somebody bring me a Christmas present tonight. I was like, they treat you like family. You know, I've said, Kevin, when your family was hurting, the fans were hurting. When you're happy, they're happy. They've been there by you every step of the way. And I've never seen a fan base like this. What do you think is different in the fans of World Class? What was it about that made them so special?
I've got a pretty hard idea on this. When I was young, I think I had wrestling fans, and David, Gary, and I had wrestling fans because we were good wrestlers. We were entertaining to watch on TV. But I think that was, 40 years ago. I think that I have fans now that aren't necessarily fans. It's more like acquaintances and friends, because a lot of people have suffered like I did. A lot of people have it bad or even worse than I did. And they see me suffer. They pray for me. They understand loving your brother, and they've just drawn close to me. I have friends in this room that have loved me. I love them. It's like, and I think it comes because we all understand what it's like to lose somebody we love, or to be disappointed or hurt, and that we're protected. We encourage each other. And like I said, wrestling fans are some of the best people in the world. They want to see good triumph over evil. just can't see that everywhere. I'm so proud of it, but I think that it worked because it was just, at the time we were good wrestlers, but we never did play the big shot, Mark. I don't think we ever acted like we were better than anyone. You know, we're wrestlers. We're just trying to make our dad proud, really. You know, just little boys. But we got really good at it, and TV ratings are what make it go all work, and boom, winners took